Alright, so I wanted to talk about Charles Burns today and go through just pretty much my entire collection. There's a lot of stuff that not a lot of stuff, but there's definitely some stuff I'm missing, but I am getting close, I think, to having pretty much all of it. It's kind of confusing because a lot of stuff kind of gets recycled in the earlier anthologies. But anyways, he was the first cartoonist for me that hooked me to comics, and I honestly, after reading Black Hole in I think 9th or 10th grade, I didn't read it. I couldn't seek out any other comics because I didn't think there was anything as good, and I couldn't find anything else from Charles Burns at the time. I guess it was just not. I mean, there was like the Pantheon collections, but I guess they were not really available. They're kind of out of print. And anyway, this is technically the first comic that he did, supposedly, but it was published later. I'm not sure what year it was published. 1985. I think it was drawn way earlier than that, though. It's called Illbred. And if you've seen the Fear of the Dark French cartoon film where he did an excerpt, this is pretty much that same story, but the style is so simplified compared to what you're used to seeing. Yeah, you still recognize it, from the get-go. He has that style. Very inspired by romance comics from the 50s and EC. It's pretty much the same story, different, the girl looks different. It's not in French. It is a little bit different. He remixed it some. This is great though. You can find this for cheap. It's the second volume of Death Rattle from Kitchen Sink, number 1, and you can find it for $3 or $4. And it's a 16-page comic too. I feel like that's a David Bowie reference or something. See that face? It's pretty much the classic Charles Burns theme that he still runs with today. It's this kind of mix of it's almost like a Lynchian thing, like Blue Velvet, the mix of the super American Pie and coffee, and mixed with this macabre, grotesque, surrealist thing. It's some Body Snatchers inspired, Highly recommend picking this up just for that comic. I mean, everything else in it's not that great. I haven't even read it, actually. There's only one other comic in it, I believe. Yeah. Anyway. And I'm not 100%, but I'm gonna try to kind of move in chronological order. So this would be the next thing. This is the Raw, Read Yourself Raw. Pantheon put this out. It's basically, it's the first 3 issues of Raw collected, minus some of it. It's edited down. I mean, I don't have the first 3 issues of Raw, so I can't say what's missing. But there's actually not much Burns in this at all. There's only a couple pages. But sadly, this is even expensive to find now, even though it was a mass market paperback, technically. It's a great collection, but, honestly, they didn't really collect the best stuff. It is great. I'm not gonna say it sucks or anything, but it's, I wish they would have had, I won't go into that, but I'll show the couple Burns things that they did include, which this is the original Dog Boy strip. I don't think this is actually collected in the Skin Deep or anything. And this, I don't know, this is kind of like a William S. Burroughs mashup or something, it looks like, but maybe, because I mean, that's pretty much from the Ill-Breds strip, right? I'm not sure if these are like taken from other comics that he tried to do, or if this is really just like just a Burroughs style, like you know, cut up technique comic. Next thing. Sorry, I forgot to take this out of the plastic. This is raw number 4, so it's not like it's not the worst copy. It's actually in pretty good condition. It's not that bad. But shout out to Jason Hamlin for getting me this for a very decent price. So, amazing cover. These, you'll see, cutouts. So, Borbah, of course. I guess, I'm not sure if this is the first place that Borbah appeared. I'm assuming that it was in heavy metal, but I don't know, actually. But the Burns story in here is not collected anywhere. I've never really seen anyone talk about it. The voice of walking flesh. I have seen him mention it in interviews with Comics Journal and stuff, but there haven't been many reviews. You can't really find any pictures of it online, so here you go. This is one of his best pieces. I love his early stuff where it's just these he took the like romance and EC like style of these faces and like pushed it to an alien extreme, and it just looks so bizarre. But like his brushwork's nowhere near what it becomes. It's still beautiful. I mean, this is incredible. Like, this is one of his first pieces for sure. Like, impeccable. Like, I wonder how much he, like, how many things he made that he just threw away. If you can find this, it's worth it just for this alone. Like, it's a pretty long comic. It's crazy. It's got all the everything you'd expect from a Charles Burns. It's very like these parasitic creatures. Great stuff. And the next thing I'll go into is the thing he did for Buzz. This is a anthology Mark Landon put out. I have all of it. There's only 3 issues. The first one Burns isn't in, but this actually the first one has the first Jim Woodring Frank comic. Interesting enough. Maybe I think that's right. Sorry, maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, this. If you're wondering what these are, basically, I had a dog. My roommate's dog chewed up my copy of Free Shit, so I kind of cut out the pages and made them into bookmarks. Thought it would be a good idea. But the conceit of this comic that they printed in this anthology is that Charles Burns, he kind of had, he had a, I'm not sure what the book's called exactly, but it was like a Marvel book that had like pencils for storyboard, like a whole story of penciling with everything, and then you could ink it yourself and just test your inking skills, I guess. Kind of for kids to practice or whatever. Sorry, there's a truck back here going. But yeah, so this is a two-part. It completes in Buzz 3, but I'll flip through it for you. Yeah, he took this already penciled Marvel story and turned it into a Charles Burns story. Very recognizable. Flip to the next one. This is a really cool anthology, and you can get it for super cheap still. I mean, it's got a lot of great... Mac White, one of the best. Which you don't... I mean, you really don't see Mac White. Like, there's not really any good collections, or... I don't know. I always love his stuff. But yeah, it's a pretty short story. I want to see the penciled version. Like, what was he drawing this off of? Because it's so bizarre. And I don't know how he made this story out of it. Like, it just has no basis in reality. I don't understand how this came from anyone else's pencils at all. It looks so precisely him. I mean, I'm not going to go into the story because it's pretty convoluted, and I don't think I can actually explain it anyway, but definitely worth seeking out. Then the next thing I'm going to go in, I'm actually finish out with the rest of the raws that I have of volume 2. So he didn't really actually, he has a Teen Plague from Outer Space in here, but that's collected in Big Baby. But I just wanted to show off this back cover, which is great. It's kind of sad to read his stuff this small anyway, so if you want to read that story, I recommend getting Big Baby. And then he does have a little thing in here that's not collected or really reprinted anywhere. This is collected, and it's featured in Todd Hignight's In the Studio, where he kind of shows off a lot of his rarer things in there that might not have been collected, just little excerpts and stuff. But there's something else in here. No, I'm wrong. But so this stuff, I think it's been covered for the most part on YouTube. Maybe not El Borbah actually. So I'll give this one a decent flip through. This is the first actual printing of this collection. So there's a little bit of confusion about it, but that this is actually the same thing as El Borbah. It's the same stories, just a different title. When it was, I think Fantagraphics reprinted it, and they titled it El Borbah, changed the cover. This is the last thing I got from him, pretty much, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of disappointed with this stuff. Like, it's fun stories, the art's beautiful, but It's definitely not his best, and I think it is. It shows that it is some of his earliest stuff. I'm sure some of y'all will disagree with me, but the art is, of course, it's some of my favorite, but I don't know. The stories just don't really go. They're just kind of cheesy. I don't know. It's kind of like Twilight Zone or something. We have these. They have these endings that kind of like make the whole thing fall flat. You're like, oh, that was great, and now it's just this cheesy twist. I don't mean to hate on this now. I feel like a dick. This is a great book. It is. I love reading it. It's so fun. But like, it just, I don't know. It didn't do the same thing for me as like Skin Deep, which I think is probably his best of these 3 books. It's all still pretty simplified compared to what you know him for now. I mean, there's like no shading in the background. There's like no shading on anything in here. Like, what? No shading? Where are your feathers? Yeah, so some of these stories do like run into each other, but it's I think a 5-story collection. Yeah, this one, oh yeah, this does actually count as 1 story anyway, so I'm not sure why it's in parts. Maybe because it ran in heavy metal, and he published it like monthly or something. Anyway, you can find this for like, actually I won't quote a price. I'm not sure these days. I'm going to Skin Deep, which this is, I think, the second print collection from Penguin instead of Pantheon. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, there's a different cover out there, which has Dog Boy. This cover. This stuff is just so fun. It's got Dog Boy. It does start off with kind of a big baby story that leads into Dog Boy, and obviously Dog Boy became even more famous as a chick track. Interesting, you know. Oof on the chick track, but yeah, it became an MTV thing on Liquid Television, but Charles Burns kind of disavowed it, and he said basically everything that he wrote for it just got shut out, and they made it their own thing. It was like these English actors trying to pretend they're American, so that's why the voices sounded so odd, but I think that's kind of part of the charm. This story is just insane. It's one of his best, most convoluted, crazy, absurd stories about this, like, reappearing Jesus image and this, this, like, demon, almost like a demon character that reappears through history. But you can see his art is getting really solid here. I mean, it's becoming what you know him for now. This is seriously one of his wackiest stories. Yeah, this character, this Cyclops ghost demon thing. I won't try to explain it because it probably sounds silly. Sorry, I'm gonna get better sound quality soon. I really do apologize, and my road seems to be extra busy while I'm shooting this video. This is like some of his more EC and romance style stuff, fusing his two biggest influences. Yeah, I know, this stuff really has been, it's been years since this came out, so I'm not gonna go too into it, but this Big Baby, obviously another one of his more famous characters. This stuff was printed in raw, and I think maybe one story in heavy metal. Anyway, but the cool thing is that a couple of these stories were also printed. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if they were originally printed in color, or if that was a secondary thing. But Kitchen Sink Press put out Blood Club and Curse of the Mole Man in color, and those are really awesome. You can find them for pretty cheap, I think. Like Blood Club, I don't actually own that one in color, but I would love it. I need to get that. Cool thing about these Charles Burns Pantheon or Penguin collections is they come, every end paper is like a different wallpaper, and so the idea is that you would take this and you would scan it, and you would just like loop it basically to the size of your wall, and you could get this printed as your wallpaper. Each side's different, so I'm curious if anyone did that. Here, I'll show a couple of other ones. Just give you the idea again. Here, let's see the back end of that. Imagine this as your wallpaper. This one's like ideal. I've always wanted to try it. Let's see how they link up, you know? Interesting experiment. And I actually have the color Curse of the Mole Man. I'll give you a quick flip through of that. I think this is still pretty available, like, I don't know, $15 or something. I'm not sure who did the color. I would assume it's Burns himself, because that's the kind of guy he is. No? Coloring assistants, Michael Newhall. Yeah, I'm gonna assume it's Burns. Pretty disturbing in a way. A lot of classic Burns references here. Anyway, I'm sure you've read the story, but seeing it in color is just so satisfying. Imagine Black Hole in color. I don't know if that would be good or a bad thing. Anyway, really cool back. signed and numbered hardcover is available at $19.95. I wish. Next thing I'm gonna show. Yeah, I don't actually have a copy of Black Hole anymore. I just sent it to someone as a gift because they've never read any really comics, so I figured it was the first one that really got me. Anyway, I already ordered a new copy, but it just hasn't come yet. And I'm sure everyone's read it, but I figured I'd give a flip through of this because I honestly haven't looked through the whole thing yet, and I just wanted to give her a peek. I'm waiting for my copy to come so I can reread it, and I'm gonna do a little like side by side. This thing's on sale at In Stock Trades. You can get it for like, I don't know, $80 or something. I'd say it's worth it. If you don't know, this is the artist edition of Black Hole, and I don't know if this is the actual size that it was. I would assume so, with that being an artist edition, but sometimes they're not always exact. So this is supposed to be the original art, untouched, you know. It's just excerpts, obviously. They can't print the whole book. It's like a huge book. It's just so exciting seeing it at this size. And actually seeing that he makes mistakes is so satisfying in a way, because when you see his art, it's not inspiring. It literally makes you feel like, man, I can never make art. It's like perfect. I'll never ever be able to do that. So I like to see him taken down a notch. There's not much I can say that hasn't been said about this book, but if you haven't read it and you're watching this, then I'm not sure how you got here. This is like the best spread. This freaking haunted me for years after reading it. I don't know, it like would appear in my dreams actually. And I don't know, for some reason it resonates with me so hard. Like some of these images that he procures, and like they're so real. Kind of like Jim Woodring. When you read it and you're like, man, this is like happened in my brain before. You've been there before in a psychedelic experience or in a near-death experience. Oh God. Someone's running back wild. No, you guys have seen this book obviously before. So I'm gonna move on from this. I'm gonna try to move on from this. Because I got a lot more to cover actually. And a couple of things I wanted to these are just covers. He did the cover for this SPX Expo 2000. SPX every year would put out like a compilation, I guess, of people that tabled there, etc. were selling work there and had new work there. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of hate this collection. It sucks, and there's like horrible gutter loss. Like there's like interview sections that I desperately wanted to read. Good luck. This has a lot of bad stuff and a couple great artists doing bad stuff. Sorry, I'm just not a fan of like pretty much anything in here. There's like, they put Multiforce in here. how are you gonna read it at this size? It's like unreadable. I mean, it's a good concept. I'm not gonna hate on it. I literally, I could have got rid of this years ago, of course. I've kept it for the cover. And some of the work in here is like impossible to find. I think David Cho's in here. I mean, it's cool. It's fine. It's worth it for the cover alone. I think he did a print of this. I think this is in a book actually. I think it's in Vortex, with a different coloring or maybe no color. This freak some more. He just did the covers. There was 3 issues that came out from Dark Horse, and he did each cover. But the inner art is Dana Marie Andra and Phil Hester. I'm just gonna read the names. Phil Hester and Andre Parks. I'm not sure who did what. It's written by Tom DeHaven, and there's for some reason Charles Burns, Gary Panter, and Tom DeHaven are always lumped with this, right? Like, it's like they did it, so you get excited about it, and you're like, oh, what is that? And no, Gary Panter did a story which was kind of Freaks on War is a novel from Tom DeHaven, and he did a little 2-page translation or adaptation of it as well, and that's actually in here. They did include that, so that's cool. But it is. I'm not gonna hate on it. It's a pretty interesting book. Like, I definitely recommend reading it. It's wild. But I was let down thinking that Gary Panter and Charles Burns were actually more involved. The cool thing about this copy, though, is that it came with this signed bookplate, and I got it for like $15. But see, Charles Burns, Gary Panter, and Tom DeHaven, like these two barely had anything to do with this book. It's pretty interesting how much it was marketed with their names. But to me, it's just exciting to have their names on something, like their signatures on something. I mean, those are my 2 boys. I'll show the Gary Panter, a couple Gary Panter pages. I wish the whole book would have been like this. Sorry. You're watching for my opinion anyway, so. Yeah, it's pretty rough Gary Panter style, but I love it. The shading's so good. It's like it's like you just made it up. The lighting. It works though. Alright. Then I'm just gonna show off a couple books. This is a comic sketchbooks, and it's just a giant compendium of different sketchbook work from all these different talents from all over the spectrum. Maybe 75% of these people I'm not a fan of, or something, maybe, or I don't even know. There's a lot of weird names in here that I just have no idea why they're in here. But then there's a lot of greats too. But I'll just get to this is a weird, like, collector's edition version with this shitty, horrible cover. Like, I didn't know the cover was gonna look like this. I bought it, I was like, oh, it's a collector's version with different color, and man, this is like the worst graphic design ever. What is this? This is all like MS Paint font, and anyway. There's literally 4 pages of Charles Burns in here, and I bought it just for that. I thought there was gonna be more, but there's some cool other stuff in here. I mean, I just really didn't And the best stuff in their sketchbooks, except for Burns. I do choose some good stuff here. Oh yeah, there is actually 6 pages.